Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Monday, the start of another week, a week after Arsenal had won at the weekend. Would you believe it? I thought I'd just pop on here, do a Q&A. I hadn't done one in a while, so please do feel free to fire in any of your questions and over the sort of next 20 minutes or so, depending on how many of you get involved. I know it's not transfer season, which is what you all love, firing in questions at me, but if you have got anything to ask that isn't really transfer related, then now is your opportunity, because you won't get swamped in all the transfer related questions. I hope my Wi-Fi handles this. Last time I tried one of these, it was a bit of a disaster. Hopefully the Wi-Fi holds up for the next 20 minutes or so and we can get this done. Sorry, I think a wasp has just flown in. I'm just hearing a big buzzing sound around my head. Anyway, let's get going, shall we? Good win at the weekend, wasn't it? Any win's a good win at the moment if you're Arsenal, but it was a bit of fun. It should have been more than 1-0, let's face it. They could have comfortably won 2-3, 4-0. And 1-0 it was, but at least they are up and running for the season, which is what they needed to do after those horrible first 3 results in the Premier League. And hopefully we can see a little bit of a momentum now come into this season. Big game at Burnley at the weekend. If Arsenal can back up the 3 points they got against Norwich with a win at Turf Moor, then it'll send them into that game against Spurs feeling a lot better about themselves. There were definitely signs. I thought Arsenal felt refreshed. I will get to your questions in a minute. I thought Arsenal felt a little bit different on Saturday. There was a little bit of a freshness about the team. 5 of the new signings were starting. You had a new goalkeeper, new centre-back pairing, new right-back. You had Odegaard in there. You had Lokonga starting as well. It just felt a little bit different, like a little bit of a refresh. Arteta had said in the build-up that he wanted to reset Arsenal, and for the first time, certainly this season, it felt a bit new at the weekend, and they got the win, which is a bonus, and now hopefully they can build on that. Okay, let's go, shall we? Jason with a nice big win. Let's keep this going. Indeed, I hope you're right. Zia joining from New York. There is a massive fly in my room that's just come in. It's huge. Right, yeah, apologies. I'm not actually scared of flies, but that is massive. Let's start with Ahmed, shall we? Hi, Charles. When do you think Patino will get a good go in the first team next season, or is there a chance this season? Well, I mean, look, there might be a chance this in a couple of weeks' time, whenever the Wimbledon game is. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Patino on the bench for that one, given the way he started the season. I'm sure you've probably all seen the goal against United. It's under 23s on a Saturday. Lovely goal, that, sitting down Phil Jones and Dean Henderson on way to scoring that goal. And look, Patino is very, very highly rated at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta really likes him. That's why he's been inviting him to train with the first team more and more. As far as I'm aware, the plan for Patino at the moment, it does not involve a loan. It is more of a straight into the first team. They think that by keeping him around, training around the first team, he'll learn more from that. And the players really like him. They've been impressed by him, the first teamers. So, it could be sooner rather than later, but I think given there's no European football this year, so you haven't got those group stage games, which have been perfect for him, maybe it will be more next season that we really see Patino have a bit of an impact on the first team. But, this Wimbledon game feels like the perfect opportunity to give him some minutes, possibly Amari Hutchinson as well, although Hutchinson's got a bit of an injury at the moment, which has seen him ruled out the last couple of games. They really like him. And you kind of look at that Wimbledon game at home as a good opportunity. So potentially then, but yeah, I don't think we're going to have to wait too long to see Patino make an impact, because he is a hugely talented player that everyone at Arsenal has big, big hopes for. The big question of the day from Sunak Mitra: how is your leg? My leg is actually all right. I didn't have operation in the end because it got cancelled the day before it was supposed to happen because of COVID. And sort of while I've been waiting for it to, for the next appointment, it is kind of got better. It's still there. I still struggle to bend down and pick things up, but at the moment I'm not booking myself in for an operation. So thank you for asking, but it is all right. Right, let's go. I've managed to jump through a load. Someone needs to ask Arteta if he knows his best 11. Well, to be honest, I think Arteta's best 11 is becoming more and more clear now that the window is shut. Whether he's actually got an out-and-out best 11, he'll probably say no, because you've got different formations, different systems that you can use. But I think for me, I did a piece on it ahead of the game at the weekend, actually, that if he's going to use the 4-2-3-1 system, I'd say his best 11. To be fair, I thought he would have had Leno, but seemed to have gone to Ramsdale already, which was a bit of a surprise. But now you'd think Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel, Tierney, Xhaka, Partey, Saka, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, and Aubameyang, I would say. But if you're going to go 4-3-3, like we saw in the second half yesterday, you could have on Saturday. You could have Partey as a holding midfielder. You have Smith Rowe and Odegaard ahead of him in more central positions, and you can have Pepe and Saka out wide and Aubameyang. So I think his strongest 11 is becoming more and more clear, but I think it does depend on the opposition, because there's also the opportunity to play with a back three, which I wouldn't be surprised that we see Arsenal do against some of the stronger teams as the season progresses. Thoughts on Emma Raducanu, Charles? Brilliant, Ryan. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Got home from Arsenal on Saturday, watched that along with my wife, and it was fantastic. Superb tennis. What a superstar she is going to be, already is, in fact, now. This is a kind of similar one to the one I've just answered, but my ideal starting 11 with everyone available, depending on who we're playing. I think that's what you've got to take into account of this. I think it differs from if you're playing Norwich at home or you're playing Man City away. Norwich at home, I'd love to see Arsenal go with the team that they ended Saturday's game with. So Partey as the holder, Odegaard and Smith Rowe ahead of him in the more central areas floating around, and then Saka, Pepe out wide, Aubameyang up front. I really like that against so-called lesser teams where Arsenal are going to have a lot more on the ball, but you can't really do that away at Manchester City or away at Liverpool or United, because you get torn apart and you leave Partey completely on his own and you have no help whatsoever. So it kind of depends who you're playing against. But if you're playing at Norwich, I would say that, and so the defence would be Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Gabriel, White, and Tierney. But if you're playing Man City or Liverpool away, I kind of like the idea of Arsenal playing with back three at the moment. I think you can have Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel. You can have Maitland-Niles as a wing back, Tierney as the other wing back. You can have Partey in there, possibly Xhaka or Lokonga, whoever, and just shoring things up a little bit in defence. So for me, it depends on who the starting 11 is, to be honest. Ahmed, this is very, very difficult. Does Saliba have a future at Arsenal? I've got to watch what I say here, because I know it'll get picked up by all the aggregators on Twitter and turned into a story. I don't see why he doesn't have a future at Arsenal. No, I can understand why he's gone out on loan. If he's not right now featuring in Arteta's plans and he wants something else in the centre-backs, then it makes perfect sense to me to send him out on loan again to go and play a full season. Like I've said before, I'd have preferred him to have had a loan in England, not gone back to France again, but he wanted to do that, and fair play to him. And Marseille are a decent club, play under a lot of pressure under that fan base, so he's still going to be really tested over there. But yeah, I don't see why he hasn't got a future over here. If he can have a really strong season in France, come back next summer and have a really good go. You've got to remember, he's still so young. There aren't many players his age playing at what you would call a top club in the Premier League or anywhere across Europe at centre back. So he's still really, really young. So I don't see at all why he hasn't got a future. I wouldn't rule him out coming here and still having being a success at Arsenal. It all depends on Arteta's view and how Saliba does over in France. But it's good to see that he started very, very well. Why is AUBA still captain? Well, I think, Gary, just if you take the captaincy off AUBA now, it just makes such a huge story, and you're probably not going to get too much out of it, to be honest. So I can understand why he's not taken. He stripped the captaincy off him. It's not like AUBA's done anything massively wrong or anything like that. That demands such a huge decision of stripping what is your key player, one of your key players, your key goal scorer, taking the captaincy off him. I think it just generates such a massive story that it's not really worth it at the moment. Mexican Wave, Jack Wilshere on a pay-per game? No, unfortunately not. Mexican Wave, as much as I love Jack Wilshere, no, that's just not going to happen. I already answered one about Patino. I think next season is much more likely with him. I think this season is all about for him continuing to train with the first team, maybe get some minutes against Wimbledon, like I said, but continue to train with the first team, build up that relationship with the players, with the coaching staff, and then have a really good go next season after having a good, strong season with the under-23s, which he certainly appears to be having. See what Owen's got to say. Good morning from Canada. Hello, Owen. Hope you're well. I hope you're having a great day, but I have a question about the last game. You think that this current side adding no one else can in January can finish within top 6. I don't see why not. Look, they're not going to finish top 4. Let's face it, Arsenal aren't a top 4 side at the moment anymore in the Premier League. I think you look at how strong Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, and Man City are. It's just not going to happen with Arsenal this season. But I don't see why they can't finish 5th or 6th. By any means. It's they've had a bad start, yes, but 2 of those games out of the way are Liverpool and Chelsea, which Arsenal are never really going to pick up many points in those games at the moment because they're just not good enough. It's as simple as that. But I don't think anyone else is particularly special. I wouldn't say Leicester are miles above Arsenal. I wouldn't say Spurs are miles above Arsenal. So I don't, I think if Arsenal can keep everyone fit, which is key, I think especially if they can keep Thomas Partey fit for the whole season, because he's so important to them, then I think they've got a chance at top 6. Why not? If Aubameyang can score the goals that he needs to, I think the defence hopefully is going to get stronger and stronger the more they play together. So yeah, look, they've got a chance, absolutely. Will I say for definite they'll do it? No, I can't, but they got a chance, 100%. I do, Dwayne. Yes, I think Aaron Ramsdale is now first choice. I'll be very surprised. I know Ramsdale said after the game that he wasn't sure if it was like a tactical tweak by Arteta or something like that. But I just can't imagine it was a tactical tweak by him. I think you don't make a decision as big as that and then suddenly bring Burnley back for the next game. So, and I think his answers to the questions after the match as well certainly hinted that for now anyway, Leno is going to have to make do of a place on the bench, and Ramsdale is number 1. I think it would take a few big high-profile clangers from Ramsdale for him to lose his spot. So for now, yeah, I think Aaron Ramsdale hasn't made himself number 1. Charles Tannoy, I'm sorry, Tannoy, I don't really understand your question. If you want to get back and ask that again, I will. I'll answer it, but I'm not sure what you meant there. Amen seems to have a swagger that fans adore. Do you think his inclusion in the team is good for fan and team? Look, everyone loves Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I think the fans like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, in the academy boy. Everyone wants to do him well. I'm not sure we're going to see him too much more in the team, to be honest. I think when everyone's fit, when Jack is back, when Partey is ready to start, which should be for the next game, I think Ainsley will find himself out of the team again. It can be a very valuable squad player this season. Hopefully will be, as long as he has buried the hatchet with Arteta, which it seems like he has done. But I don't think we'll be seeing him in midfield too often this season, barring injuries and suspensions like we saw at the weekend. So you and James is on the whistle video in the background. Do you guys chat and discuss Arsenal when you're there? If so, what were the main topics on Saturday? Me and James certainly did chat Arsenal on Saturday. We left the stadium together. We were chatting it as we were walking out down the steps, went to Holloway Road Station together before he went off for a drink and I went home. So yeah, what were we talking about? We talked about everything that I ramble about in these videos, to be honest. We talked about Ramsdale, the game, how important it was to win. I mean, we're both Arsenal fans, me and James. So, we were talking probably more as fans than journalists when we were leaving the ground, just talking about the relief of seeing our team win and get off the up and running in the Premier League. So that's the main thing. I mean, obviously we always talk Arsenal when we're together. And yeah, he's top guy, James, top guy. Oscar, hey Charles, bit of a personal question, but wondering how you got started in football journalism and if you have tips for people interested in something similar. I mean, James, I started 20 odd years ago, mate. I first got in, I was a junior reporter on a newspaper, my local newspaper around here, the Windsor and Slough Express. Spent a couple of years there working on news, which was great, sort of learning really about the industry, how to build a story, how to write stories. I went through all my journalism exams while I was working on the paper. Passed all my exams, became a senior journalist, continued doing news at that point. Then I went to another paper near me, the Reading Chronicle, where I joined the sports desk. Spent a few years working there, covering Reading FC in the Championship. Then went to another local paper, the Main and Advertiser, worked in the sports desk there. Then went back to Reading and started covering Reading for the evening paper there, the Reading Evening Post. Spent a good few years doing that in the Championship and in the Premier League. And then got my job to move to Arsenal with Football London, then moved to Goals. So I worked very, very hard on dreadful money, doing awful hours, covering the most boring news stories you can imagine for the first few years of my career. Like I said, that was about 20 years ago now. So that's how I got into it. It's very different now because obviously, when I was around, when I started out, internet it was there, it was around, but it was nowhere near as big as it is now. And no one really did blogs and could write what they wanted. It was very, very different. So it's hard for me to really say what best way it is to crack into the media now, because I did it 20 odd years ago. But I just did an awful lot of work, awful lot of work that I didn't enjoy, but always with the aim of eventually moving on to sport and getting on with hopefully the aim of one day covering Arsenal, which fortunately I am now. So that's the story of how I got into it. But for now, the real tips of how you can do it, you just got to do what everyone else does. And that is just work hard, write as much as you can, try and get as much of your stuff out there as you can. You've got brilliant tools on the internet now to publish your own work and get it shared and make a name for yourself there. And just keep asking for work, keep sending out to people, sending out requests, keep asking for work. And it's a really competitive industry. I know that it's really hard to break into, but if you keep at it, you keep working hard, eventually you can get a break. Once you've got a foot in the door, it's a lot easier to then move around the industry. Ryan G, good shout. 120 to 1. Nice. I think she was 400 to 1 at the start of the tournament. Not bad at all. But yeah, I hope you spend that money wisely. Oh, there you go. What is my favourite moment as a football journalist? When Arsenal won the FA Cup against Chelsea, Aaron Ramsey's header at a full Wembley. Being there, it was the first trophy I saw Arsenal win as a journalist covering the team I supported. It was a brilliant day. No one expected Arsenal to win. They played so well, beat Chelsea. Just a really special day. Absolutely loved it. And so that was it. It was good to see him beat Chelsea again in the FA Cup last season, or 2 seasons ago, but there was no fans in the stadium. It was a very different feeling. But that one in 2017, wasn't it? That just the whole day was very, very special. So that's my favourite moment as a football journalist. My worst, without a shadow of a doubt, is the Europa League final in Baku. Going all the way over there for that sham of a final and then see Arsenal get hammered 4-1 by Chelsea. Do you think Arteta would have been sacked had Arsenal drew on Saturday? No, I don't, James. I don't think he was quite at that stage yet. I think these 4 games were going to be absolutely key. They're still going to be absolutely key to him. I don't think a draw would have been the end of him on Saturday, but it certainly would have piled the pressure on. But yeah, I think we weren't quite at that stage yet. I do think Arsenal could do with another midfielder. I don't think it's going to happen in January. I think maybe in the summer they'll look at it again. But the fact that they gave Xhaka that contract, which I'll just never understand, suggests that they still see him as being around for a good couple of years yet, at least. I think it's a really big missed opportunity in the transfer window this summer to move Xhaka on and bring someone in to play alongside Thomas Partey long term. So yeah, in answer to your question, Joey, I do think we could do with another midfield in January, but I'm not sure we'll see one come in. It's a bit harsh. 2-2, 2-2. I need holidays. This is a tough one. Do you think Arteta is the man to take Arsenal forward? I believe we had a good squad. I'll tell you what, when he was appointed, yes, I did. I absolutely did. I thought it was a good appointment. I was really excited by what happened in the run to the FA Cup. I have began to question him a lot recently, some of his decisions, the football that his team plays, the lack of chances, the lack of quality. But then I also do understand the huge job that they've had behind the scenes and what they've done to try and totally reshape things and continuing to do. So it's tough. I'm certainly not anywhere near as big an Arteta fan as I was at the start, and I would totally understand if they did decide to move on and bring someone else in. And yeah, so I'm beginning to question him a lot more than I did. But I still think now, when you kind of look at the squad he's got now and a lot of the work they've done in the window, it feels a lot more like an Arteta squad now that we're beginning to see it merge. And if he can't get this lot playing well over the next 2-3 months as we get to Christmas, then he and Arsenal are still where they are in the league, then they absolutely need to make a change, get rid of him, bring someone else in, because it's clearly not working. So I would probably say at the moment I'm leaning on the side of no, I don't think he's the man to take Arsenal forward long term, but I am willing to see how he gets on over the next couple of months with what now looks to be more of his team and more of his squad, to see if we start seeing improvement, not just in results, but in the way that Arsenal are playing, because that's a big disappointment for me, is the way Arsenal is playing. And I did think on Saturday albeit against a Norwich team who were very open, that we did start to see signs of a better looking Arsenal, certainly in that second half once Partey and Emil Smith-Rowe came on and they started creating a lot of chances. It's an interesting one. Pick your three: Saka, Odegaard, Pepe, and Smith-Rowe. If Arsenal are playing 4-2-3-1, my three are Saka, Odegaard, and Smith-Rowe. But if Arsenal play this 4-3-3, then you can get them all in there, can't you? And I thought I really liked the look of that against Norwich. You can have Smith-Rowe and Odegaard in the more central roles, moving around, dragging players out. They've got the quality on the ball, those two. And they can run with the ball, which is really important. And then you've still got the goal threat of Pepe and Saka as well out wide, and then Aubameyang up front. So you know, it doesn't have to just be a pick three of the four. You can play all four of them. I think we saw it work against Norwich on Saturday. I don't think you can do that all the time, especially if you go away to one of the bigger teams. But you know, I think playing all four of them can absolutely work because, like I said, Smith-Rowe and Saka, Smith-Rowe and Odegaard press really well. I think if you're doing that and you've just got Partey behind them, you're relying on Saka, Smith-Rowe and Odegaard to win the ball back early and keep the ball away from, keep the ball in Arsenal's final third and progress the ball quickly to the wingers. So I like the idea of all four of them playing at times. But if I had to just pick three out of the four, then it would be Pepe, who I'd probably leave out, which is a bit of a shame because out of all of them, he's Arsenal's biggest goal threat. And you want to see Arsenal score goals because they don't score enough of them. But he'd probably be the one I left out if you had to pick one of them. This is a hard one for me. I really like what we've seen from Sambi so far. I thought he was really good at the weekend as well. Obviously, Partey absolutely has to be the first choice when it comes to midfield. But, personally, I'd like to see the two of them play together and build a relationship. But I do think that once Xhaka comes back from suspension, that Arteta really likes him and he'll come back into the team for me, and Sambi will end up on the bench again. Look, Pedro, I think Karl Heinz going to go. I know he played very well against Wales, but I think he'll go. I can't see him signing a new contract. Arsenal really like Arthur Okonkwo. He's a third choice, so he's ahead of Leno already. I'd be very surprised if Heinz doesn't go at the end of this season. Yo, I think loads of people have been talking about it. I think seen it mentioned an awful lot of times. There was lots of praise for what Ben White was doing. I think he's clearly demonstrated in that Norwich game why Arsenal wanted to bring him in and why Arteta wanted to bring him in with having lost David Luiz. And it was a perfect example of that with the quality of his long passes. Yes, I do, Patrick. I think we'll see Leno in goal. I think that's a bit. He had a couple of chances, Jay. I like the fact that AUBA's getting chances. When AUBA plays and he doesn't get chances, that's when it really worries me. But when he gets chances, even if he misses them, I'm much more worry-free when it comes to him because I know he will score. He will score. Yes, he missed a few at the weekend, but he still scored the winner. He's scored 4 goals now this season when you include the hat-trick against West Brom. So, look, I think AUBA's going to really benefit from having fans back in the crowd as well. I think he really feeds off that. And for me, he absolutely still has to start. I said already, FU, that yes, I do think Ramsdale will stay as number 1. How do I feel about the change? Look, I'm easy with it. I don't think Leno had done enough to be absolutely guaranteed first choice starter. So I'm quite, the change has come earlier than I thought it would. I have to admit, I thought Leno would still be in goal. But yeah, I feel good about it. I like what I've seen from Ramsdale so far. He seems to command the area well. He's got personality about him. He showed he was decent with the ball the weekend. Again, this was against Norwich. It has to be said. And, whether he's under as good as that, as calm as that under pressure from really high pressing teams, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, no, I feel good about it. I do. I don't necessarily think it'll just be against the weaker teams either, Graham. I think we'll see Smith-Rowe and Odegaard pair together as they were plenty of times last season. It doesn't have to be against a weaker team. Even if he's just playing a 4-2-3-1, I can see Arteta playing with Odegaard as number 10 and Smith-Rowe out wide on the left. Lots of people seem to be agreeing with this and sending questions like this. Look, I don't really know anything about it. I have to say, I've seen the rumours and the whispers, but for me, as far as I'm aware, Arsenal is still very much behind Mikel and haven't been looking for a change yet. Obviously, Conte's there. I imagine his people are putting the word out that it could be something he's interested in if the job becomes available. But in terms of Arsenal at the moment, from what I've understood from speaking to people, is that the backing for Arteta is still there, but that could change very, very quickly should they fail to get some results over the coming weeks. Because if you're Arsenal manager, you can't be flirting with relegation even at this early stage of the season. So, it's a long-term project at Arsenal. They view it as that, and Arteta, as far as I'm aware, is still the man that they see to lead this project. But as I said, they've got to win games. They've got to win them regularly and quickly to ensure that stays the same situation. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate the words, mate. Tomiyasu, right back or centre back? I like him as a right back. I have to say, I think he can play as a centre back, but I like what we saw of him at right back at the weekend. Granted, again, we didn't really see him tested defensively, so it'll be interesting to see how he does against better teams when they really put him under pressure defensively. But he looked good on the ball. He was good with both feet. Technically, he was good. He was quick, good in the air. So what's not to like? He can play as right back or centre back, but certainly at home against those sort of teams, I don't really want to see Arsenal lining up with three centre backs. I'd much rather see him play as right back and then stick with the partnership of White and Gabriel and let that develop over the coming months. Right, I'm going to pick out a couple more, but we're approaching half an hour now. So I'm going to have to call time on this. Oh, here we go. Paul Atkins, do you think we will get in Europe within the next 2 years? Yes, I do, Paul. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say, yes, we will. Why are people so obsessed with Arteta failing at Arsenal, says Sai? I don't think they're obsessed with Arteta failing. They're just obsessed with Arsenal. And the fact is that at the moment, Arsenal are failing because of where they are in the league. And people want to see an improvement in that. So I can understand why there's a lot of negative feeling towards Arsenal from the fans and towards Arteta from the fans, because the results haven't been good enough. But I don't think it's more, if Arsenal start winning, I think a lot of fans will get behind Arteta. And anyway, the fans in the stadium, I think you do have to remove yourself sometimes from what you see on social media and read on social media and then what you see when you're at the games, because the atmosphere on Saturday was fantastic. Fans were behind the team throughout, even deep into the second half when it was still 0-0. They were cheering and urging the team on. There wasn't any real negative atmosphere. They didn't boo at half time. Go back to the West Brom game away from home. The away fans fantastic all night long there. So I think sometimes we'll get a little bit too absorbed in what we read and see on social media, on YouTube and everything, and think that is actually the norm when you go to the games, but it is very much not. See, I don't think it is just an excuse, this long-term project. It is a long-term. It's what Arsenal have done. They've clearly, you just have to look at the transfer strategy and to see that it is a long-term project. It's not, I don't think it's an excuse. It's just the route that they've decided to go down. Whether you agree with it or not, it's clearly what they see. That's the best way of trying to get the team back competing again, is by building something with a younger squad who can come together and improve over the next 1, 2 or 3 years. So I don't think it's an excuse. I just think it's what they've decided to do. Maybe you could say it's an excuse for not sacking Arteta earlier, because let's face it, Arteta would have had no complaints had he been sacked for the performances. 2 8th place finishes isn't good enough. So maybe you can say it's an excuse for not sacking him. But I don't think it's an excuse for Arsenal, where Arsenal are right now in the Premier League. I just think it's what they're trying to do. Granted, I think they could have done better in terms of their performances, even with this project, as it's called. And I agree. I hate calling it a project because it's just a horrible word to use when you're talking about football. Right, I'm going to pick one last one. I am going to go with this one. Is there space for LACA and AUBA up front? Asked Jeandre. I mean, there is space for them. Yeah, we've seen it happen time and time again. Personally, my view on it is no, they shouldn't play it. He should not do it more often than not. For me, I think AUBA central striker, play him there continuously, especially if you've got these players behind him like Saka, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, and he's going to get more opportunities, which we saw on the weekend. He did get opportunities. For me, I'd play Aubameyang all day long. I don't buy into the fact that Aubameyang is well past his best. I think Aubameyang plays regularly this season. He will still get close to 20, 25 goals, and I'm not sure he would do that stuck out on the left with Lacazette as a central striker. All right, that's it, guys. We've gone over the half an hour clock now. Thank you very much for your questions. Appreciate it as always. I'll try and do more of these now we're out of transfer season, because I always find them quite interesting. I know in transfers it's all, every question is about a player, transfer, and it can get a bit mind-numbing, to be honest. But I kind of like these ones when we can talk about other things other than transfers. We talk about actual football, which is, let's face it, the thing we all love. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it. As always, have a very good day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll speak to you soon.